Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of Scrape Metal and Roll, the limited edition podcast. We've got all the action from TCR and USF round 2, which was at Snetterton. And to discuss it, I've got 3 of the drivers who were racing and in the thick of it. So introducing first, he's an LOA veteran and one half of the McLaret team. His dulcet tones will have tickled your eardrums from watching our GT3 videos. Say hello to Chris Wight.
Hi there, guys. Nice to be on the podcast this week.
Yeah, and awesome to have you, mate. And next then, he's from the largest non-magical stable in the LOA, the Minardi stable. And he's already earned a Discord nickname, which shows you he's doing something right. It's Ben Chalcraft. How you doing, Ben?
Hi there, Gareth. Hi, everybody. Nice to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. And finally, we have an American driver who prefers to race front-wheel drive around road courses. Well, that's a headache for his therapist. It's Damon Mitchell. How you doing, Damon?
Good. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, it was really good to have all 3 of you. Welcome aboard. So I'm going to start with you, Chris, then. You've been in the LOA for quite a while. Remember back to your first LOA race?
I remember almost like it was yesterday, I think. Summit Point, and I was in a Batman livery of all the liveries you could choose on Trading Paints. And I think a certain David Lyne was chasing his title at that point. So I think it was Prime Season 3, if I'm right.
That's right, yeah. Formula Renault 2.0, yeah. Good times. That was a great car, actually. I still really miss it. Yeah. What is your favourite car on iRacing, and do you have a favourite track?
Definitely a favourite track. I think Interlagos has got to be one. We haven't actually raced that quite recently in our league, but I'm looking forward to if that makes an appearance. With the car, I'm starting to love the F4. I wasn't really too keen to get into that season, but it's grown upon me, especially after the highlights of last season's championships there.
Yeah, it is a really fun car once you sort of get on top of it and stop losing the back end. And yeah, can't argue with Interlagos. That's a fantastic place. How about you then, Ben? You've been with us a couple of seasons now, I think, haven't you? When did you first start?
Yeah, not too long ago. So last season was my first Prime season, and I joined the USF League halfway through the season before that. So coming up to 2 seasons now.
Brilliant stuff, yeah. And how about your favourite car and tracks?
Ooh, that's tricky.
It is.
One that always puts a smile on my face, but I rarely actually drive, is the F3. I mean, some of the the officials can be absolute bedlam, so maybe that's what's put me off. So maybe looking for a league that runs that at some point. Tracks, there's a lot. I'm still coming across new tracks. I've not been sim racing too long, less than a year really. So I did enjoy Road Atlanta, and we'll be going there in at least one of the series. So that's one I've enjoyed.
Yeah, I think Road Atlanta is brilliant, actually. It makes amazing racing if you go back and check out some of our older videos. Sadly, you missed our F3 seasons, actually. We did race it for 3 seasons here, but yeah, brilliant car. Can't argue with that. And actually, I didn't ask Chris, what sort of setup do you race? I mean, we've got a lot of sim racing nerds on the channel who really get into their gear. So you got a brief rundown on what sort of stuff you race with?
Well, I keep it pretty basic. I'm on a Thrustmaster T150 and a couple of just basic plastic pedals. But I'll probably be looking up to upgrade next season. Maybe that'll help my performance as I'm in the top split now. So we'll see how it grows.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. And what about you, Ben? What are you rocking?
So I got middle of last year. I got a Fanatec CSL DD, the 8nm Newton meter one.
That's it. Yeah.
And it shook my desk to pieces. So I put it back in the box, and about 6 months later, when I got some back pay, I got a proper 80/20 rig, and it's now sat in that with triple monitors.
Oh, brilliant! That sounds nice. Yeah, great stuff. And Damon, recording the day before Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to you, and a big thank you to Mrs. Mitchell for releasing you, so that you can appear on this. So, is it going to be a traditional meal tomorrow for you guys?
Traditional to a sense, yeah. We won't be doing a whole turkey. We just do a turkey breast, since it's only the 3 of us in the family that eat. So try to keep the leftovers available, but to a limited amount.
Sensible, yeah. And when do yams come into it?
As soon as you can. We like to put some marshmallows and brown sugar and bake them that way.
Wow, yeah. So yams, clams, and hamsters? No? So, tell us about your favorite. When did you start in the LOA?
LOA was my first league I joined. I don't remember when I joined. I started iRacing a little over 16 months ago. So I met Mark, Zeph, and Steve Pepper, and kind of came over to start a GT3 league, or not start, but to be in the GT3 league with them a couple seasons ago, and ran that for a little bit until the GT3 ended. And I missed the P Cup run, and then TCRs came in for season 2, so I was really excited there. So I definitely came back, since that's my, as we get into the preferred track and car.
You tell us about it. Yeah, go for it.
So I get along really well with the TCR. I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite car in but it's just something that I think just you find something that ebbs and flows with you, and TCR definitely does that with me. As for track, I have to go Suzuka. I don't care what car it is or how much I like or dislike the car, I will drive around Suzuka as much as I can.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the, just one of the most spectacular tracks in the world, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I know some complain about the racing there, but I find the racing's always great. Even the short track versions of it, there's something about it. Just a little bit of everything there.
Yeah. I mean, all three of you have chosen, some of my favourite tracks, I have to say. So, great choices all round. And Damon, sticking with you, because obviously you raced the Audi in our TCR league, and you did win the opening race at Alton Park. You're astonishingly quick in TCR, so perhaps you could share 3 quick tips on how to be quick in that car. Perhaps you could sort of help some of our other drivers pick up some more pace.
Yeah, I'll open the secret doors. I had a little read ahead to think about this a little bit, and they kind of all relate to each other. But the first one I would kind of put out there is with front wheel drive cars, there's a little technique that we like to refer to as steering with the pedals. As you go into the turn, there's a lot of work in the brakes, especially with the front wheel drive cars, and there's some of the other tips there with the weight transfer and stuff like that. But as you're turning in, you trail brake a lot more with the slower cars and the front wheel drive cars, and you utilize the brake to to align yourself to that apex, right? Or in a little bit of throttle here and there. And
okay,
so if you're running wide, maybe just a little, 5% more brake pressure might help you bring that car into the turn. If you are slow enough and you're not quite there, you can actually kind of use the throttle to help pull you through the corner too. So there's a lot of less steering input and more pedal inputs that you can use to manipulate the car through the corner. That's the first one.
Nice. So a real finesse job then is the key.
Yeah. And that goes into the second tip is you want to keep a heavy wheel. So one of the things that iRacing does is they only feed through the steering column and the force feedback was felt through a real race car in the steering column, right? And with the TCRs being front wheel drive, as soon as you want to keep the wheel heavy is the way it goes. And so as soon as if your wheel is lightened up, you're understeering, right? You're starting to slip your front tires. So as you go into that braking zone and you brake heavy straight and you start trail braking in, as long as your wheel is still heavy as you're turning in and you're not turning much, maybe for most turns, right? Like a 90-degree turn, if we use as a reference, maybe 15 degrees, 20 degrees of input on your wheel, because you're using your pedal your brake pedal to keep that weight on the front tires to actually turn it and bring the car around, get the rotation of the car. But if you get that light wheel, then you're braking too hard or you're going too fast, and you're going to start understeering.
Wow, that that's blown my mind. Actually, I'm really excited to try that out.
So yeah, just reacting to that feedback you have within your wheel, right, is a big factor. And the last one goes into kind of the top of that is the weight transfer, right? So unlike rear-wheel drive cars where your front tires are really just there to turn the car, right? And your rear tires you use to propel your car, and actually with rear wheel drive you can use that on throttle application to kind of help give yourself a little oversteer and help rotate the car. You don't have that ability with the front wheel drive cars. So weight transfer becomes a little bit more important, because especially if you're coming from a rear wheel drive type mentality, as you get on the throttle, you're changing your weight transfer to the rear wheels, but you have no benefit of your weight on the rear wheels, right? So you want to make sure that you maintain that weight pivoted towards the front tires so that you can maintain your turning and utilize the front tires. Because as soon as you start accelerating and you start moving that weight to the rear, as you're accelerating, you're losing grip capability of your front tires, which you need to both accelerate and turn, so you can't do it as much, right? So easing into that throttle on the track out, the throttle out of the turn, really helps. And even you might have some crossover where you're braking and throttling almost at the same time and messing with the differential, which is maybe a hidden fourth tip in there.
Yeah.
To kind of get the car there, but it's a lot of managing that weight transfer. So if you just slam on that throttle and shift all the weight to the rear, you're just going to, again, understeer as you try to throttle out. And as soon as you start lighting up your front tires, now you don't have braking capability, you don't have turning capability, you don't have throttle capability. Right?
Wow, that is brilliant stuff. Thank you so much. I mean, hopefully everyone is going to learn something extra cool from that. I mean, moving on to the racing, actually, because the very appropriate corners, I'm sort of thinking coming out of that first Melbourne hairpin, I'm very heavy-footed, often under acceleration, and yeah, the understeer was pretty horrendous on cold tyres especially. So Snetterton and the TCR, did you guys all enjoy the combo? Ben, how about yourself?
Yeah, it was another new, well, not quite a new track, but a new layout for me. I've not done the 300 layout before, so it was interesting to learn that middle section and how it affects the lap. Couple of tricky turns towards the end of the lap as well, having a brake and turn at the same time. But yeah, it didn't go too bad for me, probably better than expected. So yeah, I had a surprisingly good time there. It was the USF in particular was much more fun than I was expecting at that track. So yeah, good couple of rounds.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, and Chris, you had a 14th in race 1 and then a 20th in race 2. So, and I went up the back of you hairpin, didn't I? So sorry about that.
It's all good. It happens sometimes, even to the best of us. No, a bit of a mixed bag, really. But I did enjoy having a bit of a battle with yourself and a few of us around. It's nice that we're in the top split now, so there's a whole bunch of guys like yourself and Nico and Chris Forrester as well stepping up. So we're all around that similar pace. So it's nice to battle and have a group of guys to kind of compete against. But yeah, difficult track for me. I don't really use it too much, but no, it's always good to have a challenge as well.
Yeah. I personally really like that infield section. It was quite interesting to the chat on the Discord in the run up to the race, because some people were very much sort of like rather see the 200, but I think that infield section that was probably my most enjoyable part of the track. Actually, I really like some of those corners there. So yeah, and Damon, you were going from a pit lane start after picking up the penalty at second race of Alton Park. Amazing charge through the field in race 1 to come to P11, even though you got a slight hip check from me in T1. But yeah, how was it coming through, passing all those cars?
Yeah, I mean, it was just trying to keep my car alive, and I was really aiming to try to get that back end of the flip for the feature race, and I forgot to read what it was, and I was really aiming for P8 because I thought it was the top 8, and that was, if I would have known it was P10, I think there in our incident where we got a little close to each other during T1, it probably wouldn't happen if I wouldn't have been trying to get to P8 and knew I only had to get to P10, because then I would have been able to manage that one a little bit there and been able to get through. But yeah, it was just trying to be clean and make the passes where I could. The track doesn't lend a lot of opportunity for passes, and the cars without a heavy draft also, you gotta really get yourself in there and get alongside. So I don't think I pushed anybody out too bad.
Well, I had a grandstand seat for your battle with Gavin, actually, which was a pretty stonking battle through like T1, then through the hairpin, then through Palmer, and I think you got it finally done in the Agostini, the left-hand hairpin. I think it was when you finally got the move done, and then I snuck through with you, so it was quite fun for me. I certainly enjoyed watching that. So but to talk about the top three then, so it was Stephen Greening who picked up the win in Heat 1 with Ollie Ettridge in second, Mike Murphy in third, and then in the feature race it was Alex Murphy who won the race with Stephen Greening in second. John Cook, his first podium in the limited adhesion, so congratulations to you, John. And you're welcome, John, because I gave you that tip on one of the corners and it seemed to really help him, and all of a sudden he was able to go quicker than me, so yeah, it was fun. And Damon, yeah, you pulled it back to P6 in the end in the feature race, so again, climbing 5 places. You did a lot of passing that weekend.
Yeah, it was moving. Actually started, I think, 1 position behind Stephen Greening, but going into turn 3 on the first lap, we got 3 wide going into that turn, which is not a turn you even want to be too wide in.
No.
So got a little bump, got a little sideways, and couldn't stay up. So I lost a few positions there behind Stephen. I couldn't make up the time. So I think there was more on the plate for me, but that's the way racing goes sometimes. But yeah, I gotta make some effort in the next few races, as I think Stephen Greening's gonna be one of the key people for the championship, and I have to get some points. He's got a definite lead on me from that penalty, which actually I received from tapping him in Oldham Park. So
that's true.
It'll play out throughout the season.
Yeah, well, you set me up perfectly for the segue into the championship chat. So it is that man Greening on top ahead of Alex Murphy. Tom Lauren is up in third place, and then Mike Murphy from your stable, Ben. And then we got Russell Bright, my teammate, and then 6th is yourself, Damon. And then I really like spotting this earlier, actually. So 14th is myself, and then Chris, you're 15th, and Ben, you're 16th. So we're sort of like nose to tail in the championship. So we've got a nice little fight going on, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the rest of the season. But I think we've missed one dark horse in the championship, really, is Mr. Don Parker. He was in the race for Alton, obviously, wasn't it? Snetterton, but yeah, he's just sitting there, hopefully not getting noticed for, but he does tend to have quite strong races. Yes,
but yeah, I mean, he's going to be, well, I'll let him tell you why, but he's might be missing a few races this season, unfortunately, because otherwise, absolutely, I think he would be right up there in the championship fight.
I think one of the benefits we got with Dom, though, even if he is there, he's in that Hyundai that has a little bit lackluster starts compared to the Audis.
Oh, he's a Elantra, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a crap starter, is it?
You got to actually work a clutch in an Elantra, where Audi doesn't have a clutch. You just shift to first and manage wheel slip. So.
See, I've picked the wrong car again then, because I'm... being a lazy man, I only race with the 2 pedals on my rig for my sins. I did try and put the 3rd one in, but it just felt really cluttered and in my way. So, yeah, maybe I should do that if we're going to keep racing TCR.
Which one are you in, Gareth?
I've got. I'm in the Elantra, but I've got. My rig's one of the old CSL Elites, the belt-driven one, and then just got like the load cell brake and the pedal and the accelerator, but. Yeah, maybe I'll put a clutch on my rig eventually.
I mean, I didn't even get into my rig, but yeah, I don't run a clutch pedal. I use it I have a clutch paddle on the wheels.
Yeah, I don't have a paddle. I've only got the sort of geared one. Yeah, what are you using? What's your
so I got a VRS base and pedals, just the 2 pedals, throttle and brake, and then the Leoxis XF1 Sport wheel with triple monitors. Actually, I have 4 monitors, but all on aluminum rigs. So, just added a Stream Deck XL to the set that I gotta make a button box for and add some more toys to.
Very nice. Yeah, I started soldering up my button boxes. 3D printed them 2 years ago, and finally got around to soldering up the components. So hopefully, I'll have that working within a couple of rounds. So yeah. Well, let's. So obviously, yeah, as you say, I think there's quite a few title protagonists there. Mike Murphy's looking surprisingly strong, actually. He seems to be going very good in this car. Let's
He's
move
a
on.
speedy boy, is Mike.
Sorry?
I said he's a speedy boy, is Mike.
He is a speedy boy, yeah.
Goes about it quite quietly, kind of misses a few rounds, and I constantly ribbed him last season for turning up for two of the rounds as my teammate. But I think he took the pole, did he, in the touring car?
He did, yeah. Yeah,
and then stuck around at the front for the race. So when he turns up, yeah, he's quick.
He is quick, yeah. And he won on debut at Charlotte, didn't he, in the USF?
I mean, we don't talk about Charlotte.
It was just nose to tail, wasn't it? Impossible to overtake. But well, speaking of the USF, though, let's move over to that, because obviously that's the second part of the racing that we took. We had and looking at the Heat 1 results, it was Alex Murphy, that man again, Stephen Greening in second, and Oliver Ettridge in third. And then just a little further down, it was yourself, Ben, in fifth, myself in 10th, and Chris down in 13th. And then in the feature race, it was Ollie Ettridge who stepped up to the win after the collision between Greening and Murphy. Stephen Maxwell second, and Michael Messenger in third. Then I had fifth, Ben, you had sixth, and 22nd, Chris. So what happened in the feature there, Chris?
I kind of mirrored my TCR performance. One race went well, one race didn't, and yeah, props to yourself heading up from near the back of the grid, wasn't it, Gareth? And then up to fifth place. So,
yeah,
much better than my race.
Well, I dropped it in the first hairpin in the feature from 10th in the heat, and dropped to the back of the grid, and then luckily there was so much carnage in that first heat, and I was able to sneak back to 10th place, and then yeah, I think a fluky fifth place, if I'm honest. So in the second race, and Ben, you had
the old count, don't
it? I'm very pleased with it, but yeah, Ben, you had a nice drive behind me, and I was pretty committed to losing that position to you, actually. So what happened?
Well, yeah, I started off with having quite a nice drive ahead of you, and then had a small incident at the hairpin, slid wide, and lost 2-3 positions. Had a bit of a scrap with James Pepper to nick one of those back, and then, like I say, for a time I thought it was closing you down. I thought we were going to be side by side at some point, but a few too many mistakes, and I dropped back. And then the last lap or two, I was being hunted by Chur, so I was looking backwards, not forwards by that point.
Yeah, it's never nice to have Tour hunting you down in the USF, because he is so bloody rapid. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those that's just consistently there, although not his strongest season so far, but I'm sure when it comes to counting the points by the last round, he'll be there.
Yeah, it's been scrappy for him so far. He's not in the top 3. In fact, not in the top 4, because the top 4 of the championship currently, Alex Murphy, Stephen Greening, Stephen Maxwell, and then yourself in 4th place. Me all the way down in 12th, and Chris, you're down in 21st at the moment, but I'm sure you're going to be coming back a bit stronger in the next few rounds. So, yeah, I mean, Ben, what do you reckon? Do you reckon you can sneak a third or even higher in the championship?
I did scrape a third in the championship last year, but I would say with the change of format, with the 2 races in the weekend, it's attracted a larger and a more competitive crowd potentially. Yeah, I mean, every race now that I'm looking at, if I'm getting in the top 10, I think I've done a pretty good job. So it's a case for me of consistency. I know I've not got the absolute pace of the very top guys, but if I can hold a decent lap time, then, like I say, I've been scraping the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th here and there, and if I can keep it on the black stuff, then hopefully I'll have a good gathering of points. Top 3 might be just out of reach, though.
Yeah, although, I mean, you know, Stephen Greening and Alex Murphy look like they're on course for a pretty seismic battle across quite a few of our championships, it has to be said. And it does seem to be ending in tears a few times. We had the collision this time, which was into Nelson, wasn't it? The sort of the Brundle and then Nelson corner at the end of the back straight, where and Greening sort of locked up and speared Alex off. So collisions are happening, and there will be penalties, and I think that will help guys like yourself and me in sort of hoovering up a few more points. So yeah.
I mean, I won't say no to a few freebies, but I think they're trying to both win the championship and see how many others they can beat with penalty points. Because I think they're quite high in the championship if you just had the penalty points at this stage.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. But I think you're doing yourself a disservice there, Ben, as well, because like going back to last season and the final round at Bathurst, you got the double.
Did do a double, yeah. My first two LOA wins, I think. There were extenuating circumstances there, but like I say, I was happy to keep it on the black stuff, and my pace was decent. Had a good fight with Zeph. Was it Mark Zeph?
Yeah, it was Mark. Yeah.
And again, we were pulling away from the main pack, but I think Maxwell had spun. Murphy had a penalty. Chur didn't turn up, so there were some other names that would have been right there at the front. But as we pulled away at the front, he decided to not fight and maintain lap time with the intention of nipping past at the end until he made an absolute I think he made a mess of the Forest Elbow on the last lap and was just out of range, so that gave him the first win. And then we had a bit of a collision in the dark, and I was the lucky one that came away with two wings intact and was able to sneak past for the win at the end in the second race as well.
Oh god, yeah, I forgot about that massive kerfuffle in the dark at the end of that second round. Yeah,
there was 5 of us piled up in the mountain section. Yeah, it was.
Oh dear, yeah. But I mean, that first race, I mean, you blew past me because I sort of inherited the lead, and then you and Mark came past me when I cocked up coming down the mountain, had a little slide, but I just couldn't keep with you. The pace was just phenomenal. So, the fact that you guys were basically able to consistently do that lap time and ease away like that without making an error around a track like that, it's phenomenal work.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of intimidated by the mountain section, but after after a little bit of practice, I think I did an official there. I tend to have a better chance if I have done the track before. And yeah, I think once you know that section, then there's no need to be afraid of it. You can start attacking it, and once you're in that position, then the lap time just really comes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not the fastest through there, but it was one of my better performances for sure.
Oh, it was phenomenal, yeah, and then obviously you had a great start to this season with round one. Great scores across the board really in all 4 series. So yeah,
some better than others. The open wheel where I'm most comfortable. They were good races, and just avoiding the carnage at Long Beach. But yeah, the TCR's not so much. I scored 0 points in the first 2 rounds. I had a little bump with my teammate, although it was a lot of netcode as we went through his lots. And then in the second race, I got 2 Britons, and a upside down cool camel landed on my bonnet, and that was the end of that race.
Oof, yeah. And Damon, you had an upside down, no slots, no glory landing on yours at the end of race 2.
Yeah, Superman came and visited.
So let's just round up with an interesting question, because both you, Ben, and yourself, Damon, are quite new to sim racing, as you say. Chris, I think you've done it a bit longer. One top tip to give to new drivers looking to get fast, or people looking to get fast in general, what would you say?
Oh, you've dropped that on us.
I know.
I can go first if you want a little time to think. But I'll use, I used to fly unmanned aircraft, and I think one of the tips to that, and as I was learning that, has always applied with racing, and it's the old mantra: slow is smooth and smooth is fast, right? So don't worry about being fast out the gate, right? Just worry about being smooth through the track, right? And as you're smooth, you'll be able to pick up speed as you go. It's a slow progress. It's not, you can't jump in the car and just be fast. So you gotta,
great tip.
Yeah, I'd certainly agree with that. It certainly helps improving your lap time if you're on the track and not off in the barriers. So I think it's building up that pace is certainly the way to go. And there's so much time to be gained on the brakes. That's a huge amount. If you're playing arcade games and you're slinging it at corners, it just doesn't work in the sim. You've got to get the car to the right speed and then you can carry it through the corners. That's certainly in the lower classes where you've got to keep that momentum up. You've not got a big engine to throw you down the straight. So, yeah, I suppose that's an area to focus on, is getting the braking right and getting the corner entry speed, and the rest takes care of itself.
Fantastic. Yeah, and Chris, any quick tips?
Yeah, probably just focus on being consistent first. Get your base lap time in, and like you said, with the other guys, then you can start increasing your speed and testing the limits of your car.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and finally, then let's just look ahead. We are going to be at Spa for the round 2 of prototypes and of Prime. Damon, are you racing any of these, or just focusing on TCR?
Just TCRs right now.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, if you ever want to join in, you'd be more than welcome. But yeah. So Ben and Chris, are you guys looking forward to this one? Are you ready for it?
I'll let Ben go first.
Okay. Rarely. We actually did a little bit of practice. Me and Mike got in a session, and Kenjo Olive got in a session the other day and did a few laps. And the F4 you really have to throw around that track because it's so low powered and the track's a big Grand Prix track. You really have to throw it at the corners to get the last few tenths out of the car. So that's going to be interesting to see who can keep that up for a full race. I did the LMP2s with there last season, so I've got a little bit of experience there, and yeah, that's a really good fun with the downforce. Throwing that around those corners, that's really good fun. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, but it's one of those tracks where there's always that potential for chaos at the end of the Kemmel and at the end of the lap in the bus stopping into turn 1.
For sure.
Yeah, you got to have your eyes on your mirrors, I think, for a lot of that. So there's lots of potential for overtakes and incidents.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like with Ben, everyone seems to know this track. So people might take more risks than what they normally would. So let's see what comes, come what may. Hopefully we all make out at the end safely, and gonna see how our lower guys like me and yourself, Gareth, see how we come out, because it's a track that we can test against higher level drivers such as Ben. I think Ben, we used to do in his lights towards the end of the season. I remember at Silverstone we were both kind of chasing him down, but not quite there. But it'll be interesting to test how far we've come along in the close season.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we got a bit of a target against you, Ben. Well, yeah. Well, that's going to wrap up the episode, because I'm conscious of the time. So I want to say a massive thank you to all three of you, to Ben Chalcraft, to Chris Wight, and to Damon Mitchell. Next time I'll be joined scarily by the Risky Boys, so strap yourselves in for that one. Yeah, thanks for listening to Scrape Metal and Roll, and we'll see you next time. So goodbye, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'll see you on track.
Cheers, guys.